Hi folks, how are we doing? I hope you're all safe and you're keeping well. So what I'm going to do today is to show you how to make flaky pastry. Okay, so flaky pastry is a pastry made from strong plain flour, and you use 3/4 fat to flour. So you use 200 grams of flour and 150 grams of fat. Now my fat is butter, and it's actually two varieties of butter. So what I've done is I've weighed it out, I've cut it into 4, and basically each one of those weighs 37.5 grams. Okay, so if you use all butter or all block margarine, cut it into 4 equal pieces. If you use Trex or lard and butter or margarine, you have to mix it together with a fork, make it into a block, cut it into 4, and then you're going to use 1/4 to begin with. But before I do that, I'm just going to add to the bowl, I've sieved my flour, a good 1/4 teaspoon or so of salt. Okay, and that's really important that you remember that. I'm then going to add 1/4 of my fat and put it into the bowl. I'm going to chop it up and I'm going to rub this in. Right, so 1/4 of your fat, so roughly 37.5 grams goes into your flour to begin with. You're going to rub that in. So you've done this loads of times before. You're going to rub it in using your fingertips. You're going to rub between your thumb and your fingertips, and you're going to lift it up to get air into the mixture. Now the raising agent used in flaky pastry is air, and you're going to use 3 ways really to get air into the mixture. The first one, you're going to sieve your flour, so that'll get some air in. The second one, you're going to rub your fat into your flour, that's more air. But the most important thing you're going to do is you're going to roll and fold your pastry, and that gets the fat into the flour, the air into the pastry. So it's quite important that you do this correctly. Right, so I've added salt for flavour, but I've also added it because it strengthens the gluten if used in the right amount. If you use too much, it will damage the gluten, but if you use it in the right proportion, it won't. So that's now rubbed in. So remember, give it a little shake, there should be no big lumps. And to this, you're going to now add ice cold water, as cold as you can get it, and lemon juice. The lemon juice is important because that the lemon juice cuts the richness, but it also helps with the gluten. And then you're going to add to this water, ice cold water, and the ice cold water, it's ice cold so it prevents the fat from melting. Now the recipe says 8 teaspoons, but I think you'll find you'll need more than that. So what I want you to do, I've added 3 tablespoons there, and I'm going to mix that in, and I want a dough. A soft dough, not sticky, and must not be dry. Okay, and I'm going to add water until I get that consistency. Okay, now because you've not rubbed in very much fat, the starch molecules, the flour grains, have not been completely coated with fat, and that normally prevents gluten formation, but also means that you don't have to add as much water. Okay, so add a bit more, 8 tablespoons. I said teaspoons, didn't I? 8 tablespoons, which is quite a lot, but right. So you're going to mix that in. I think that was 7. I'm going to add 1 more, and that should be about enough. Okay, so it's ready when it sticks together, and that's what this is doing now. Right, so you can basically clean the bowl out. That doesn't mean to say obviously you don't wash it, but it means that it's the right consistency. So I'm going to move the bowl out of the way, and the next thing I'm going to do, sprinkle some flour on the surface, and I'm going to just knead the pastry gently, and I want to make it smooth. Right, so it's important that you get it smooth to begin with, because if you don't, when your pastry is rolled out, it will never go as smooth as it should. Okay, so we're nearly there. That's quite smooth. So can you see that? Nice and smooth. So you're going to make that roughly into a rectangle. and you're going to roll it out, and you're going to roll it out until it is approximately 30 centimetres long, or 12 inches if you use inches, by 4 inches or 10 centimetres across. Okay, so you're going to roll it out. Don't worry too much about all the rules about rolling pastry out that you were taught when you made short crust pastry. That doesn't really matter. The only thing you want to do is make sure that it does not stick. Okay, right, so there's the first rolling. Not bad, an okay rectangle. So what you're going to do after that is you're going to get one of the quarters of fat and you're going to put it onto your pastry. So if you just imagine that pastry is divided into 3. You can draw a very faint line if you want with a knife, and you're going to put the fat on the top 2/3. Okay, and you're not going to go to the edge. You go to the edge, it'll leak out and you'll be in a mess. And you're going to put sort of like walnutty, large jumbo peanut sized pieces onto the top 2/3 of fat. Okay, but you're not going to go right to the very, very, very edge. So when you've done that, you've got all your fat on, you're going to fold. So this is where the folding and rolling comes in. Bottom third over middle third, top third over middle third, press down and do a quarter of a turn. Okay, and then when you've done the quarter of a turn, you're going to roll it out again. But you're going to be very careful here, because what you don't want to do is for any fat to ooze out. So roll it towards you to begin with, then roll it away to the middle and then back and that way, and that way you'll hopefully all the fat will stay in the pastry. Okay, so do that again to the middle and then from the top. Now can you see I've actually got air bubbles forming? Just going to turn it that way, but I'm going to remember and I'm going to turn it back just to get the width. So I want it a bit longer now. Okay, so there I've got my rectangle again, and I'm going to do exactly the same as I've just done. Now if we were making this and we were in a professional kitchen and we were a pastry chef, what we'd probably do is rest it in between these rollings and foldings. So you'd put it into the fridge now. Once you'd rolled it out, just fold it into 3 and you'd put it into the fridge in a bag or covered up, and then you would take it out after say half an hour or so. Right, so same thing again, bottom third to middle, press the sides down, top third to middle, press the sides down, a quarter of a turn. Make sure you've got flour underneath, and you're going to do exactly the same. You're going to roll it, right? So you're going to roll it to the middle and then you're going to roll it to you. And if you've got any fat that appears on the top like I've got there, just make sure that you cover that with some flour. Okay, and you're going to again get it to a rectangle that is 12 inches or 30 centimetres by 4 inches or 10 centimetres. Okay, and then when you've got that, you repeat the process with the last quarter of the fat. I'm just going to make it a wee bit longer and just slightly wider. Right, and you'll find as you do these rollings that the actual rectangle becomes much neater. So exactly the same rules. Your fat goes on the top 2/3. It doesn't go to the edge, right? And you use up the quarter of your fat every time. Don't think, oh, I've got a bit left, I'll use that in the next bit. Don't. Just make sure that you use it all up. And then when you've got to this last folding, you're literally going to roll the pastry out and you're going to fold it in 3, and then you're going to put it into the fridge in a bag or into a freezer, depending on how long you've got to keep it to use it. So fold over, press it down to seal it, fold over, and press it down. Right, now I can see straight away that I've got some fat there that's leaked to the top, so I'm going to make sure that I've got flour on that. I'm going to roll this now exactly as I've been doing, so towards me, to the middle, away to me, and I'm just going to keep doing that until I get it to that rectangle again that's 30 centimetres by 10 centimetres. And then I'm going to put it into the fridge because it has to rest now, because the gluten in this has been stretched that much that if we tried to cook with this now, it would just shrink. So if you're making something like Eccles cakes or sausage rolls, the filling would just ooze out. Okay, so last little bit. And then when you've got that like that, a little bit of flour there where it's a bit sticky, you're going to do one last folding, and then that goes into a plastic bag and goes into the fridge, ready to use to make sausage rolls, Eccles cakes, or even make it into a pie or something. Thank you, bye.